I want to start by introducing today's guest to the Paris to Present podcast. I want Mary Gordy. Did I say that right? Is the last name Gordy still?
Baines, but that's all right.
Okay, Mary Baines. I know Mary for over 15 years. Went to school together, SGA together, leadership camp together. We know each other for a long time, and we have an exclusive, great episode for y'all today that's going to talk about some things that's going to change your life. Without further ado, I want to get right into today's show with Mary. Let's go. So, what we here to talk about today, Mary?
Listen, I am here collabing with you today to talk about depression within the Black community.
That's a real thing.
Something that really needs to be talked about and addressed and corrected.
It's a real thing, and it's one of them things that we don't, as in the Black community, we don't talk about much because we're afraid that it's going to be deemed as us being weak. So we try to keep it to ourselves. So a lot of times we suffer in silence when dealing with depression, which is not fair to ourselves, that we have to do that. It's not fair to the people that we love because a lot of times they become some of the victims as well to what we're dealing with, and they have no idea how we feel inside. And I know we will share both of our personal experiences because I know I deal with depression and you deal with depression. Do you want to go first, or you want to ask me about mine first, or how you want to do it?
Ladies first.
Okay, all right, let's go ladies first. So kind of tell me, when did you first realize you were dealing with depression?
Man, I want to say, now that I look back at it, that I've been dealing with this really my whole life since my teenage years. But when it really caught my attention, like, wow, I'm really suffering from this, was after my mom passed. And, that really hit me hard. And I just have a lot of things that I wish we would have done, regret, guilt.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's when I really, understood what was going on. But not really, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Like, how did you deal with it when your mom passed? Like, what were some of the symptoms and some of the things that you went through? I know with depression, there's a lot of different levels to it and a lot of different ways we kind of like react to it. With your mom passing, like, what opened it up to you to make you realize that you're finally dealing with depression?
Definitely a lot of self-degrading thoughts. Just like, you're old, you're old now, you're 36, what do you have to show for it? I allowed my past to come up a lot. And, my past is kind of, I always feel as though it's kind of like a horrible past. I've been through a lot in my life. But I am still fortunate to be alive and be able to talk about my story. And that's the best thing, ever, to be able to help others. So just being, feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, not knowing what my purpose is, and I feel as though, when you get up in age, some people may call it a midlife crisis. I think they're kind of like the same thing, that and depression. Mm-hmm.
I agree. Like, first of all, condolences to you for losing your mom. Sorry for that.
Oh, thank you.
The thing is, like, that's when I realized that I was dealing with depression when I lost my grandmother. When I lost my grandmother, it was the same thing. That's when I really understood what depression means, and I went into it immediately. And one of the ways I tried to deal with it was not dealing with it. I started lying to myself, and this may sound, kind of crazy to some people, but this was my coping mechanism, was to pretend like she didn't die. It was just kind of convince myself like she didn't die. You just haven't visited her in a while, and you just don't have time to go visit her right now. And I refused to go visit the grave site as a coping mechanism because when I thought about it, I just didn't want to talk to nobody. I didn't want to see nobody. I just wanted to be by myself. And then I started having suicidal thoughts, like real suicidal thoughts. And the only thing kept me from like driving my car off a cliff or something was just thinking about my wife and my kids. That was the only thing that stopped me at the time. Because it was the first time I actually lost somebody that was close to me, like that really, really was close to me. And I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know who to talk to about it. And, when I tried to talk to people about it, it just didn't go well. People would say things that wasn't helpful. Did you deal with any of that, like trying to communicate with people in the midst of your mom dying and no one really understanding or not knowing how to talk to you?
Well, when I was talking about it, I was really talking to others who had lost their mom as well, and I felt as though, we definitely were able to connect, but just, I feel like talking with my husband, he now understands because his father was gone. But at first, I don't think that he understood what I was going through. He understood the aspects of how I was feeling about regrets and things like that, but internally, no. You know,
Why do you feel like us in the black community are so afraid to really speak on being depressed and really letting ourselves be vulnerable enough to allow people and to get the help we need to deal with this? Because this sickness is like, it's deeper than just us one locking ourselves in a room by ourselves in a dark room. It's not that. And I know that's what people think of when they think about depression, but it's so much deeper than that. And we deal with like we it really affects our marriages. It affects relationships to a point that it puts us on the brink of divorce. Like it can really have a negative effect on it. So why do you think us in the black community we choose to suffer in silence?
well, just like you said in the beginning, Alan, fear of looking weak or fear of, I would say for me, as me being an always cheerful person and things, it kind of, I didn't want people to know how I was really feeling on the inside, how dark I was really feeling. So on the outside, I'm portraying this, happy, go lucky person. But inside, I felt like I was dying. You know what I mean? And also in the black community, we're taught to not talk about things. What happens in the house stays in the, you know what I mean? Just that mentality alone allows us to just hide things. You know, that's why I'm so glad we're doing this podcast today. Definitely.
I'm glad we're doing it too because this is going. We're gonna get a lot out that we want to talk about and some of the things that we're feeling and we experience, and hopefully, someone listening to this episode is going to come from this and know that they're not alone. That you're not alone feeling like this. You're not weak because you're dealing with this. And that nobody should make you feel less than because you're dealing with this because we all are suffering from something, and they just need to know you're not alone in this.
Absolutely.
And that's the biggest part. How did your husband? How did the depression affect your relationship with your husband?
Oh goodness, just fighting all the time, feelings of being misunderstood, feeling like he doesn't, and I still kind of like feel like he doesn't really understand. We still talk about this all the time because depression is something that is still ongoing for me. I'm just trying to let him understand that I need him to be there for me emotionally. You know what I mean? So now we're trying to do more things together. We've been together for 12 years, and that's a long time, and you got to keep things fresh and new. So now we're trying new things that we haven't tried before, which is great. You know, just exercises of really just talking to each other and not at each other. I'm thankful for him.
Yeah, you gotta have a strong support system, especially when you're dealing with this. Like that's why I credit to my wife. Like you have to dealing with depression and dealing with these type of mental disorders. You gotta have somebody strong in your corner that can keep you up in those times. And like that's one of the things that I needed personally. Like I get into a mode where I don't trust very easily. So one of the things I dealt with my wife was constantly trying to push her away. I was just trying to push her away because that fear of getting too close to her, fear of being vulnerable to her, and fearful that I would actually, feel like I need her in my life, which I do. And for a long time, I just tried to do anything I could to just push her away, and it just led to a lot of arguments and stuff, and it led to me not really opening up to her, letting know how I feel. And I don't know, one day I just realized that this is not okay. I can't do this no more. And the fact that she wouldn't walk away, she wouldn't leave me, no matter how hard I tried to push her away, she wouldn't let me walk away. The strength of her kept me up and helped me to want to get better. So my question next to you is, what are some of the things that you have done to try to improve on your dealing with depression for you?
What's really been working for me is just going out in nature. That really helps me. Grounding, a meditation, working out, exercising, listening to music that, eases my spirit. Just things like that. Especially during this time of the COVID-19 where I'm not able to go out. I'm a really social butterfly and I'm not able to go out and be with my girlfriends and laughing and such. So I just really have to just make myself happy in this time. You know what I mean? And it's been great. It really has. Working on music, doing things that you love. You know what I mean? And also getting my feelings out on paper. I actually was part of a book called Life, Love, and Locked Up, Volume 3. And it's just where a lot of us, we're all just coming together as women to, you know, share our story to help others. That's what it's really about right now, helping others, like you said earlier, and know that they are not alone in things. You know, they don't have to keep things inside anymore. Come on, let's talk about it. Let's get it out. How do we heal? You know?
Thing, finding a way to heal in the midst of all this. And then we're talking about the pandemic. Of course, we're quarantined. You're in Georgia right now, and I know they loosened up the state of emergency law a little bit, where you guys are reopening the state and stuff. How was it with you dealing with depression and being forced to be quarantined, where you can't really get out in nature, you can't be as social as you like? So it's kind of like putting you in a box, which depression already technically does. It puts you in a box where you can't be free to express yourself so much. How did you deal with the quarantine and fighting with depression at the same time?
I will say that it has been a challenge. But I'm still going out. You know, I'm on the trail walking. 'Cause I need that. I really need it. You know, so we just social distancing, staying away, you know, from other people. Still, you know, my friends come by, you know, I'll come by, but it's just, you know, only two or three of us at a time, and just trying to adhere to what's going on, but also still fulfill my, you know, what I need. So I don't go inside and back to the dark place.
I understand that. I understand that. It's interesting
But
though. I'm sorry.
I mean, I can laugh about it now. It wasn't always a laughing matter. You know what I mean? You know,
I know. I know.
just talking about it with other people, I feel like it's like a weight off my shoulders. You know?
Yeah, it's good to get it out. It's good to get it out. Like it's funny, like it's not funny, but it's interesting to talk to you about it. And when we had the conversation, you mentioned doing the episode about depression. Like I said, I've known you for a long time, and I always known you to be just always a happy person, outgoing person, hardworking. Always been you. And on the surface, just looking at you and knowing you, I would have never thought that you dealt with depression. When you told me you dealt with it, I was honestly shocked because just how you carried yourself and how you always was, you always put the brave face on in the public. Or I like to say, we all wear a mask in the public to hide what we're truly feeling inside. And it's like when I looked at you, I'm like, I would have never thought out of anybody that you ever experienced anything like this because you always were so comfortable with yourself. And was it that the loss of your mom that made you start to deal with some of the things in your past that made you feel uncomfortable with yourself, or is that something you always dealt with deep inside?
Definitely something I've always dealt with deep inside. You know, I'm still working on me. Like, you know, the important part about exercise is for me is because a part of my depression is my look, how I look. You know, I like my face fat. I don't like, you know. So it's like, what are you going to do to change it? Are you going to keep feeling bad about it and keep negative self-talking yourself? Or we got to get up and do something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You just have to figure out what makes you happy and work towards it. And a lot of us want instant gratification. You know, I say to myself, you know, in my negative self-talk, well, I just want this weight gone today. Why can't it be gone today?
I understand. How
You know, but you gotta work at it. We are constant work in progress. You know, so it's just about just get up and do it. That idea that you've been wanting to do, get up and do it. And now is the time, especially we have so much time now. So it's time to hone in on those skills and how can we use them to better us, to make us happy, to make money, and how can we grow?
I agree. This is the perfect time if you want to start a business or something. Honestly, this is the time that you can do it. Like, use this time wisely to create something. In fact, that you were just talking to my wife before we got on today's episode, and you was telling her that, like, hey, this is the time. Start your businesses. Start different revenue streams so that you can change the fact that how your job treats you. Like, you don't have to worry about whether your job's going to be here today or tomorrow. And we'll get to that in 1 second. But before we get to that, I got to ask you this question, because this is an important question just for me alone. How are you with, do you still look for and need gratification from other people? Do you need other people to kind of like speak into your life make you feel more better about yourself? Do you need people to comment and say positive things about you to keep your spirits up? Or is that something you don't need or don't
You
look
know
for?
what? Now that you said that, I mean, I think we kind of all do it in a little bit of a way.
Mhm.
But I think I do need that. I'm constantly on my husband. Like, I need you to help me because I feel as though, honey, I can't do it by myself, and that's okay to be able to say that.
Yeah. It's,
It's
it's,
okay to say that you need
it's okay to say
somebody.
we need help. It's okay. I need help. And why is it
Hmm.
so hard for us to say, I need help? Like, it seems like this is the most
Hmm.
difficult thing to say for us. It's like, I need help. And I don't know. I was looking at a book or something.
Come on, that's a whole word today. Yes.
Seriously, like I was looking at a book and they were saying like the three things that's hard for people to say is one is I apologize, the other is I need help, and the third one is I love you. And I'm thinking like, yeah, you're right. Like that is the three things that's hard to say to people. It's like, we talk to people, we're afraid to tell people, even loved ones, like our brothers, sisters, moms, dad, before we get off the phone, hey, I love you, because we're afraid, okay, I'm saying too much. We're afraid to apologize because then it's like admitting to doing something wrong. We're afraid to say we need help because then we think that someone's going to think we're weak or we're dumb. And that leads to depression too. It's just a feeling of
Hmm.
thinking that somebody thinks less of you and you're constantly trying to live up to somebody else's standard. Do you ever deal with that?
Oh, absolutely. I was just thinking about when you said, I love you, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like my mother. For years, I would be like, before we get off the phone, I love you, Mom. She'd be like, I love you too. It's like she would mumble it, and it would make me nuts. Because I'm like, why can't you just come out and say it with conviction? You know?
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that really bothered me. Like you said, people really need to let people know that I love you.
You don't know what that's going to do to a person's feelings, especially someone dealing with some type of depression or such. Simple things like telling them love them, it really lifts a person's spirits. Telling somebody that they are good enough, that they're okay, they're great. You don't know what it does to that person's spirit because you don't know. A lot of times we're our own worst enemy. Like I'm my own worst critic. There's nothing no one can say about me or say to me that's worse than what I'm already saying to myself. And
Yes.
that's the thing. Like so, I do, and I'm struggling with it. And me and my wife was talking about this recently, like just dealing with not looking for gratification from somebody else, looking for somebody else to tell me I'm doing good. Because I realized I said to her the other day, I'm like, why do I care so much about what other people think? And it bothers me that I care too much about what people think. And I don't want to be that place no more because it kind of feeds that depression that I feel because when I don't feel like I'm living up to someone else's standards, then I start beating myself up more, start getting deeper in
Mm-hmm.
depression. I want to be left alone. I don't want to be bothered. And then my family suffers from it because they don't have anything to do with how I'm feeling or what someone else done to me, but they're normally the victims of that interaction. And it's crazy. Like I said, it's something that
But the best thing about it, though,
I'm sorry, that,
I was going to say, the best thing about it, though, is that we know it now.
yeah.
And we can, you know, we can fix it. Just like, I read one time, they said, I read one time that if you say something negative to yourself, stop and then say three positive things. Because that's how we can help retrain our subconscious mind. And then eventually, we won't have those negative, thoughts anymore. That's what I'm working on now. Mhm.
Same here. Same here. It's one of the things I'm working with right now is honestly trying to reverse thinking that way and pick myself up and build myself up and letting myself know I'm enough. And that's one of the things we deal with is not feeling like we're deserving of something. It's like you get a job or you get a new car, a new house, you get a promotion or a raise, and you start to beat yourself down, telling yourself I'm not good enough or I don't deserve this, and you look past how hard you work for it, and you tell yourself that. So it's very important that we be our own biggest cheerleaders and constantly telling ourselves, I am enough, I am good enough, I am beautiful. Despite my weight, despite how I look today, I'm still beautiful, I'm still handsome. You know what I mean? It's something that we have to look for and give ourselves self gratification before somebody else does. I know we've been talking for 21 minutes. I know you're very busy, so I want to get to a lot of the questions that I have for you right now. One of the things that people deal with right now is medication. Medication is a big thing to deal with depression and other mental and social disorders. What are your thoughts on medication?
Medication, I definitely feel as though that's something that we definitely should not do. Some people need it, like, but I feel as though no. For me, it's a definite no go because when you listen at the side effects of the medication on the commercials, one of them is suicidal thoughts. Why would that be a side effect of a medicine for a person who is depressed?
Who's already dealing with suicidal thoughts?
No, we need to, I have CBD helps. I take a CBD tea. Also, just again, you got to expel those emotions another way.
But that's why I feel like when you go see a therapist or you go see a doctor, they're not really trying to help you like find ways to deal with your depression. They sit there and listen to you talk. And I spend quite some time with family members in the therapist's office talking to them, and I'm listening to them. There's no response that's truly trying to help me. It's like you're listening to me talk, and I'm sitting here sharing all my thoughts, but I'm looking for feedback. Like, hello, give me something back that's going to help me. Tell me something of how some tools to change this. It's like, no, let me write you a prescription for this drug right here. And like you said, then you look at the side effects. I was watching a commercial with my wife about this drug, then like brain hemorrhaging. One of the side effects is possible brain hemorrhaging. I'm like, why would I want to take something that's going to possibly kill me? Like, it's like you telling me, like, risk one thing for another. Like, seriously? Like, no. And then when you take medication, you got to take one drug to offset the side effects for another drug. I'm not a big fan of medication at all. Then the long-term effects on your bodily organs is another problem. So, no, I'm not a fan of that either. I was just curious how you felt about the medications.
Yeah, you know what? I had lost connectivity for a moment. Did you hear me?
No, I didn't hear you. What did you say?
Oh, okay. So I feel as though definitely it's a no-go, as far as, like you said, the side effects, how is um, suicidal thoughts a side effect of a medication that's supposed to help someone with depression?
Exactly.
Like, that's crazy, And so when I looked upon depression and things that can help, that's why I started taking the CBD tea because that definitely is a healer.
It's natural, right?
Yeah, exactly. All natural.
That's my wife is on right now. She's like on this all natural kick. Like everything with her is all natural. So I constantly mess with her about everything gotta be non-GMO that we eat and drink now. So I constantly harass her about that.
That's amazing.
She's on the all natural thing and looking for natural ways to even heal things. Like when our children get a cough now, she finds all natural ways to deal with the cough rather than going and pumping them full of medicine, which is really good and it's actually effective. And we think about the history of herbs and things that from the earth. Before we had chemists and all these people working on things in labs, this is how our ancestors healed us. This is how they healed us with all natural forms. They didn't sit here and mix a bunch of chemicals and stuff together to create something to off balance what they believe is the chemical imbalance in our brains. So I think we need to go back to that.
Exactly.
Now,
and it's really just masking the problem.
and that's the problem. It's like, see, when dealing with depression, when you're giving people medication, it's not fixing it. You're basically giving me a vacation from what I'm feeling. That's all you're doing. The medicine gives me a vacation from what I'm feeling, and then when the medication wears off, guess what? I'm right back home with the same problem still waiting for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue.
And I feel, not to go too far off topic, but about medication, I feel that way with all of it. You can heal diabetes, you can heal high blood pressure. It's a no-brainer. It's too much information out now. So I urge anybody that's listening to this, if you're going through something, or you know someone that has an ailment, research those herbs. There are definitely ways that you can heal yourself, definitely, other than medication.
About stories of people who healed cancer by changing some of the things they eat and some of the different, like certain herbs and stuff that you take. There is all natural ways to kill off a lot of these things that's going on. Possibly an all natural way to kill this coronavirus that we all dealing with that's keeping us all locked in our house. But that's a whole nother story. I gotta ask you a question before we run out of time. Like I said, I know you're very busy. What was your rock bottom with dealing with depression? Or have you hit your rock bottom yet?
I feel as though I have, I feel feel rock bottom for me is when I wake up and me hitting my toe on the corner of the bed has started my whole day into a downward spiral. And I feel as though when that happens, it's just you're just attracting the negativity to you. So thing after thing after thing keeps happening. And I find that the only way that I turn that around is when I take that situation and be like, okay, well that happened because you were moving too fast, Mary. I swear, Alan, I feel like though people might think I'm crazy, but I talk to myself.
Well, why
I
is
have to
that
talk
crazy
myself
though?
back off the ledge, so to speak.
So
If
what?
you can kind of feel what I'm talking about when I say that.
Yeah, why is that crazy though? We all should speak to listen. I get some of my best advice from myself, honestly. So
Yes.
listen, I talk to myself all the time. I get some of the
Man.
best advice is from myself.
Mhm.
I promise you, I'm not hearing
Because
voices.
we're the only ones that can fix it.
Yeah, seriously, because we know ourselves better than anybody else. We know what we're feeling, we know what we're dealing with, and ultimately, if we can tap into our subconscious and not allow others to affect what we're thinking in our subconscious, we truly can figure out what we need to do to fix the problem that we're dealing with. Because, like you said, one of the issues is we start the day off and something small, like I forgot my lunch at home before I went to work, can just screw up the rest of your day if you allow it to, because you already go out with the rest of the day is going to be completely ruined. Anything that's going to go wrong is going to go wrong. So, do you believe in speaking things into existence?
Did you say that one more time?
Do you believe in speaking things into existence?
Absolutely. The law of attraction is real. What we say to ourselves and what we speak to ourselves is going to happen in our life. So if you speak negatively all the time, that's what's going to happen. If you speak positively, that's what's going to happen. You can literally manifest things into your life. I've done it.
Oh, so have I. So have I. So have I.
Oh, that's a good one. We should come back on another show and talk about that.
Well, you're welcome on the show anytime. So whenever you're ready, just let me know. We can do it anytime. But I agree though.
Yes.
I agree though, because like I said, that's a big thing in our household is be careful what you speak. Be careful what you use your tongue to speak, because it does. I have seen it come to reality. It does happen that way. So yeah, your tongue is a sharp sword. So be careful with how you speak and who you speak to, because the same way you can speak things to existence, you can speak things out of your life, and that goes for relationships, money, and opportunities. A lot of times we talk ourselves out of things. But yeah, it's a
Yes.
serious thing, man. We gotta be careful what we say. So you've been with your husband
Hey,
12.
one thing I want to add to that.
Go ahead.
Oh, it is one thing that we say every day.
What's that?
Good morning.
Hmm.
All right.
can you
So,
expand on that?
oh yeah. So, good morning. If you really think about the word and hear the word, when you say the word by itself, what does it mean? Morning. Usually, you're mourning the loss of someone. So are we mourning every day? So that's why we should say great day or grand rise, because that that we're actually saying another thing. We're not wishing something, or not. I wouldn't say wishing. We're not pushing something into our subconscious that we're mourning every day. You feel what I'm saying?
No, I feel you. I feel you. Can I touch on that a little bit though? I agree with you 100% what you're saying. And I think the thing is though, we are mourning a lot, because we spoke on like
Hey.
with the coronavirus and this us being confined in our house and creating our own businesses, creating our own happiness. The reality of the situation is a lot of us are mourning our lives, because our lives are filled with, and this goes back into ties into depression, our lives are filled with unhappiness, uncertainty that we created for ourselves. And a lot of the depression that a lot of us are going through, that we're feeling, and the fact that we're saying mourning, we're mourning our own lives and our lack of living. A lot of us are not living our best lives. We're going to jobs that we hate. We're staying in relationships with people we're not happy with, that we don't love, we don't care about. And I'm not just talking about your husbands or wives. I'm talking about people, friendships, relationships with family members. You're staying connected with people who energy doesn't fit the energy that you're trying to give off. They're feeding you negativity. You're going to a job every single day that you're not only happy with, but doesn't care about you. I'm sorry, I think I lost Mary on this one, so I'm gonna continue on expanding. and hopefully Mary reconnects on the podcast. I apologize. We having a lot of difficulties with this episode. I think she's reconnecting now. Mary, you went back with us? Not back yet. But to continue on expanding on what I was saying was a lot of us are in relationships that we're just not happy with. We're not happy with the relationships we're in. We're not happy with the people who we're dealing with. You're stuck at a job that you're not happy with. So you've been at this job for 20, 30 years and you're not happy with this job. And then you're allowing that unhappiness to seep into other people's lives. You're letting that negativity seep in other people's lives and you're having a negative effect on how other people feel. So a lot of times when you're getting up saying good morning, you are mourning your life or your lack of living. You're mourning the fact that you choose to allow yourself to die and a part of you die every day. And we need to stop saying good morning and say grand rising because it's time for us to rise up, feel better about ourselves, feel better about the relationships we have and the people who we have in our lives. It's time for us to rise up and be thankful for the things we have and be thankful for the things that we're working towards because regardless of how you're feeling or what you're going through, whether it's depression, anxiety, or any stress, whatever you're going through, understand this: you have the power in your subconscious, you have the power inside you to overturn that and to turn over a new leaf and create another life. And you don't need the assistance of medicine. You just need the assistance of having people in your life who truly care about you, care about your self worth, know your self worth, and care enough to ask you, what do you need, without looking for a return on their investment. That's what we need. People who are going to invest in our lives and give love and peace into our lives. People who are going to stand there and be strength for us. That's what we need to deal with and overturn what we're feeling with depression. All right, Mary, you back in with me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you kind of dropped out for a second, so I just kept going just to keep the podcast
I
going.
did, but when I came back in, you were speaking a whole word. You were speaking to my heart right there. Mm-hmm.
You can add on whatever you want to add on to it.
Man, I tell you what, I mean, you just covered everything right there. I mean, I never even thought about it like that. That just brought a whole perspective. Mm-hmm.
We have to do like we have to live our lives, and that's one of the things. Like I said, dealing with my personal. I'm just going to get real personal on the show for a second. I personally deal with depression. I deal with depression and anxiety. Like I said, I lost my grandmother. That was huge for me. That was the moment I understood what depression was. I didn't understand, and like Mary said, with losing her mom, I didn't know my whole life I was dealing with depression until I lost my grandmother. That's when it hit me. Oh, this is what this is that you're feeling. And like many of the people out here, whether you're black, white, whatever, and we're speaking, whoever we're speaking to, whoever's in earshot of today's episode, I too was trying to hide. I didn't want nobody to know I was dealing with depression because I was afraid that people were going to think of me as weak. People wouldn't want to listen to me. But the reality is I am a flawed person just like everybody else. But because I deal with depression don't mean I'm weak. It just means I'm human.
That's right.
And that I have something to overcome. And part of me building this podcast was to teach people how to better themselves through experiences that I went through. And me dealing with depression, yeah, I went through it. But I also overcame the lying to myself and my grandma by actually one day getting in my car by myself, driving to her grave, and I sat in there and I cried for over an hour. And then I had a conversation with her. I apologize for not seeing her as much as I would like to. I had a conversation with her as if she was here with me. And from that, it helped me heal from that feeling. And it helped me heal that hole that was in my heart. You know, and there's other things I'm dealing with depression from. My rock bottom was, a lot of people who listen to the show know that I have an adopted son. My youngest son is adopted, and it came from a situation where I had to make the most difficult choice in my life and something I deal with every day. I had to choose in a court on short notice, was I going to take all his brothers and sisters or just him? And my choice to take him was because he was in a situation where he was by himself, he was with a family that didn't want him, where his brothers and sisters at the time were in a family setting where they were together and they were in more of a stable situation. It's a situation where I struggle with every day because it's hard for me to look in the mirror sometimes and feeling like I didn't do something wrong. And despite me trying to do something right and help somebody, it's little things like that can cause a person to go to depression. Even when you're trying to do something to help somebody else, it can force you into a position where you question your choices and your own self-worth. But
yes,
to say this, and because I don't want to end this on a bad note or something, I'm coming better because of this show and being able to talk to you and to everyone who listens and supports the show every week. The conversations I have with you guys, the talks that we have, the feedback that you give me is great for me because I feel like, I'm helping you and you're helping me. We're helping each other and we're becoming a family. Every person listening to the podcast is a member of Henry's house. You are a family to us now, to me. And I want to thank Mary for being here because, like I said, I know Mary for over 15 years, and Mary, you're one of the greatest people I ever met. Like your work ethic has always been amazing. No matter whether we were in school, whether you're working outside of school, you always have this upbeat attitude, always willing to help and do anything for anybody. I mean, listen, people, I'm not just saying this because she's here. Mary is one of the most amazing people I ever met in my life and one of the most caring people.
Thank
She's one of
you.
the caringest people. She will help anybody, will give an ear, advice to anybody. I have never heard you even say, and like I said, I know you 15 years, I never heard you say anything malicious or bad about anybody in your life, honestly. In all the years I've known you, I never heard you say anything bad. That's hard to say because I don't know too many people that can never had a bad thing to say about anybody. You just don't.
Can I tell you, I really just strive to come from a place where we all make mistakes and we don't need to be tearing each other down. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Let's
I agree.
uplift each other.
I agree.
Let's win together. Let's grow together.
I agree.
And just, hey, thank you for having me on the show. You have always been a phenomenal person, a leader. And like you said about me earlier, I would have never thought until we were having this discussion that you go through depression as well. And it's just something that, again, lets me know that I'm not alone. The men out here, you're not alone. And I wanted to say something on what you were saying about your family. I, outside looking in, I feel as though you made a great decision. And you should never feel bad because at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure you make sure that that young man has everything that he needs. He is your son. He is just like he was your blood, just like your blood son. And I know that you keep him in touch with his family. And you are making a difference. You made a difference, and you and your wife are awesome. You know what I mean? I just wanted to add that.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, he truly is. He's our heart, man. That little guy he fits perfectly in this family. I'm telling you, his personality, everything. He's a perfect fit, and he's just an incredible young man. And the greatest blessing I get is the smile that's on his face. When I see him smile, that's my blessing right there. Because I'm like, yeah, that's that moment. And as a parent, that's the greatest feeling is when you see your child happy, that you know you've done something right in the midst of doing everything wrong. Because you're a child, so we don't think our parents do anything right. Everything they do is wrong. So when we have that feeling where you see a smile on our face and we feel like we did something right, that's just the greatest feeling in the world. Mary, I know you have a lot going on. You're very busy. Can you just, before we go, let the listeners know some of the things that you're working on, some of the things that you're doing?
Oh, yeah. Hey, thanks for the opportunity to share and the opportunity to be here as well. I look forward to coming back. Like as you stated earlier, we do live in Georgia. My husband and I, we do a remodeling and construction business by the name of Righteous Remodeling and Construction. You can check us out at www.righteousconstruction.com. Also, I am a life changer, so I help people, with natural products, with TLC, and also I'm a whole food educator, teaching people how they can eat well to live. So, yeah, check me out on Facebook, Mary E. Gordy Baines, or on Instagram, Lady Phoenix 8. And Phoenix is spelled with the E and the O backwards because I'm different.
I like it.
Okay.
Okay. So reach out to Mary. You got all her contact information. I'm going to get this contact information from Mary. Make sure I put in the description tab of the podcast so that you can check this out. Like I said, Mary's an incredible person, and I stamp and endorse everything that she does, everything she touches. She is an amazing person. And if she's talking about her family has a remodel construction business, I guarantee you it's the highest quality. If she's trying to do things and teaching you about eating more natural and eating more healthy, I endorse everything she's saying. I've known this woman for over 15 years. She is a woman of high quality, high standards. She is an amazing person. She's an amazing family person and can add value to your life. If you're listening to this podcast, I hope you walk away from this with something, at least just having some kind of self gratification, knowing that you're good enough, knowing that you're awesome, knowing that you're worth it. So, Mary, you want to leave with one
Yes.
last word to end this off with people? Any kind of encouragement to
Yes.
keep going in the midst of depression and darkness they're experiencing?
Absolutely. Just know that you are amazing. When you wake up in the morning, you look at yourself in the mirror, thank the universe. Thank the Most High that you are alive because you are here to make a difference. You are not here by mistake. It is all orchestrated and ordained. And be great.
This week's show went a little over, but you know what? We ain't mad at it because guess what? This is what we do: bring happiness, love, and joy in other people's lives, bring peace and quality into your life. I hope this episode touched you, helped you deal with it. If you're dealing with depression, you're not alone. Understand you're not alone and you don't have to deal with this no longer in silence. Speak up, get the help you need. Find people who really love you, really support you, and who's really going to help you through this difficult time. If you need assistance, as always, you can reach out to the Past to Present podcast. We'd love to hear from you. We will do anything we can do to help you. Mary, we got to have you back on the show soon. I mean, we may have to create a whole new podcast where we just talk about all this different stuff because we just got so much to talk about. Are you interested?
Yes.
All right, we're going to put that together off air. We're going to put that together off air. We're going to put it together because we got to do something, Mary. I'm telling you, we got so much we got to talk about. Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Past to Present podcast. I'm your host, Alan Great. Until next time I see you or speak to you, stay tuned and stay healthy. Peace.